Hello everybody and welcome back for episode 38 of our Terraria 1.3 Let's Play. Hope you're all having a lovely day so far. It looks like we're in a blood moon again. I didn't actually intend for this to happen. I just happened to have spawned into the world and, well, here we are. I did a quick little search for strange plants, as I often do when I start out each new day, and this is what we were presented with, so might as well roll with the punches. Today's plan is, well, it's a pretty easy one, actually. All I'd really like to do today is see if I could find a lunar probe and start the UFO invasion event. Now, I feel a little silly saying this, but I don't actually remember if there's any useful items that I needed from the Blood Moon right now, so I guess I'm gonna kind of disregard it. If this turns out to be a really dumb strategy, then my apologies. Well, there'll be another one along eventually, I'm sure. What I did, though, is I created a little platform that leads up this way. I'm sure you've seen it before, only I made it much higher. And I just went all the way up to space, where the gravity is low, and the dudes are slow, and we can collect whatever we want up here. There's going to be dragons of the sky, there's going to be harpies around, and basically we don't really need to concern ourselves with these too much. I mean, I'm not going to turn down the Souls of Flight, which are great. I mean, it doesn't hurt to collect those right now, because I might want to use them to make wings at some point, but I don't really need them. What I'm trying to do while I'm here, though, is watch out for a probe, which I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they occur somewhere between space and the regular atmosphere. So I'm just going to kind of, like, meander about a little bit over here, and we'll see if we can find anything cool on the way. You know, it's always fun to listen to the space music anyway, so might as well just let it play for a little bit. We'll grab a couple of things and reflect on our day. So I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for the incredibly on-point comments recently. There have been some that have just been really nice, and those have been fantastic to see and hear and read. There was one that was like, hey, I don't even really play Terraria, but your Let's Play has just been super addicting, and I'm really into it. And I just want to say personally thank you for that. Occasional little morale boosts like that feel really good, and, you know, I love reading that kind of stuff, and I'm glad that you guys are having a fun time watching. There's also some really useful comments that I've seen, ones that, like, the wiki wouldn't really, you know, clue you in on. Things, for example, like what I said last time about the strange plants taking up 2 tiles, how to make a farm for them, that was another one that I saw. There's stuff about how the biomes work, which I've been really thankful to read. People telling me about, like, you know, you can't put NPCs in the corruption or crimson biomes because they just won't live there. But, you know, it's saving me a few minutes of time to find out silly things that I probably already knew but forgot. So I'm always glad to see that stuff too. And in general, just like, I feel great that I've become sort of like a font for all of this knowledge that's being passed on, and I'm glad that you guys care enough to actually let me in on that stuff, and especially the ones that do it in a lovely way, that are just like, hey, here's some information, choose to do with it what you will. Yeah, that's the best way. I mean, there hasn't been anything particularly egregious ever in the comments on these. I mean, there's been a few instances of little backseating stuff, but whatever. Everybody wants to play a certain way. Sometimes people want me to press control, sometimes they don't. It's all good. Honestly, I'm just in a happy mood. I'm glad that I get to play some more Terraria, and I'm glad I get to hang out with you guys. What is that? Oh, I thought that was a weapon. It was just part of one of these harpies that I murdered. I went out today to run a few errands. I ended up going to a local Asian fusion place and got myself a bubble tea, and I'm so obsessed with bubble tea. It's I didn't even realize that this restaurant was near me, and I found out about it a couple months ago, and I've been basically wanting to go there like every other day, but it just gets a little expensive, so I limit myself a little bit. But they have this fantastic matcha green tea with mango boba. Boba are the little floater things that go in the drink, by the way, for those that aren't acclimated with how bubble tea works, which I imagine probably quite a few people have never even had it. Traditionally, you get like little tapioca bubbles instead of these ones. Tapioca bubbles are a bit more chewy than they are explosive. The mango ones that they have in this, they actually kind of just like break open when you just slightly bite on them or touch them too much, which is a lovely little shot of like fresh, exciting flavor to add to a very calming green tea flavor. And the whole fusion of it goes really, really well together, and you can get all kinds of stuff there. I don't know why I'm like chilling out this restaurant now all of a sudden, but I don't know, puts me in a good mood whenever I go there. It's a happy place. Yeah, I recommend, if you haven't ever had bubble tea, you should definitely try it. Whether that means make it yourself or go to a place that has it. I don't know how often that is that people run into those types of places. Me personally, where I live, there's like literally one place that I can go to in all of the region that I'm in without having to drive for 3 hours to get to the city. So, yeah, it's cool. You should check it out. Anyway, it's been a nice day today. I've been looking forward to coming back, messing around a little bit, hopefully getting some new items, as is always the goal. We're looking for the probe, by the way, which is like a little... It's like a flying saucer kind of UFO disc thing with a blue light on it, and we want it to discover us and then have the light turn red. It might be just like the positioning of where I put this is not the best. I guess I kind of want to stay up in the air more than hang around. Not really sure what, like, maybe I should put a couple platforms halfway up this so I can have more positions to stand on. I remember when these freaking dragons would kill me in like one hit. Now they don't do that anymore, which is great. Oh, we got a Harpy banner. Cool. There's one to add to the list. Oh no, we've got, actually that was our 100th Harpy, so that was not the first time I've reached an increment on those. What am I up to? I'm up to 45 Souls of Flight. And quickly climbing. Apparently it doesn't take very long, actually, to farm these up. Somebody mentioned, I think it was in the last episode or the one before it, that the wings you can get from the steampunker lady are actually, like, some of the best wings you can get. I actually tested them out, and I didn't really see that. They seem like they're about roughly equal, if not slightly worse than the ones I have on right now. Not that it's a big deal in either direction. I mean, I'm just kind of picking whatever makes sense for the moment. That is a lot of Harpies all at once. My goodness. What did I do? Because of the blood moon? Oh, that's also a thing. I wonder if you maybe can't trigger the UFO during the blood moon. I doubt it, but you never know. Anything's possible with this game. It does weird stuff like that. Oh, another comment, and I'm sorry that I'm super fragmented today on our commentary, but another comment that was really good that I wanted to shout out was the one that let me know about how to get rainbow slimes, because I actually probably never would have figured this out on my own. What you have to do is you stand slightly off. Oh, watch out. We've got the freaking dragon down here, and it's going to cut through all of my NPCs. Alright, there we go. So yeah, we've got to stand off-center... Oh, the bride is here. Hello. I would like to take your outfit. Sorry. You stand slightly off-center of the hollow, and you have to have the rain going. And I guess as long as you're in that position, it's raining and you're not centered, like, slightly outside of the biome, you should be able to get a whole bunch of them to predictably show up, which is great, because honestly... I want to make a whole bunch of stuff out of rainbow bricks, and you guys told me how to do it, so thank you. Also, I needed to do that for quite a while, so I'm glad that's over with. I don't see much going on down here. It's a bit of a quiet time right now. So if I don't get what I wanted for this episode, my other option, well, I could farm in the desert for a bit, because I know there's a few things I need there. I could go back to the dungeon for a bit, because I know there's at least 2 to 5 items I need there. Several of them are just, like, auxiliary weapons and things that I probably really don't need, but I want for the collection nonetheless. And, what else? Aside from starting some other event, and there are a few of those, by the way, that I could do. I could do the Pumpkin Moon, I could do the Frost Moon, I could kick into the Lunar event, or I could do the UFO event, which is what I'm trying to do, actually. Alright, there's the Blood Moon over with. Let's go back up there, just in case. I was checking for strange plants on that, by the way. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't find any strange plants on my journey. I don't know if I said that yet. Kind of sad that we might not have an unboxing part of the episode today, but hopefully you can forgive me. I've been pretty consistent with that. And I will maintain, I know I talk about it a lot, but I think the strange plants concept is like one of the best new things that they've added to Terraria. Just because it's something that is fun to do and exciting throughout the entire play. Like, there's not a lot of bits that have, like, long-term potential and longevity that you can do at any point in the game that continue to be entertaining from the beginning of the game to the end. And finding new dyes and such, I mean, absolutely qualifies under that distinction, just because, well, it's fun to find out all these new ways that you can make your character look. And it's even better that they made some of them behind a wall that takes a while for you to get to, meaning, like, you have to kill hard mode bosses, you have to kill Plantary, you might have to kill the Golem, and eventually all of them become accessible. I'm sad that it wasn't the way that I had said that it was in prior episodes when I was a little ill-informed. I had thought that the dye vendor, once you find a certain strange plant, would sell you that same dye, like that you've discovered it and now it's just like a viable thing. I still think that would actually be like a perfect thing, but at the same time it does encourage you to keep looking for more if you do find one that you particularly like. For example, the Living Rainbow one, which I'm a big fan of, as I'm sure you can tell by now. So yeah, I still want to go after more living rainbow dye, which means I'm going to spend my time looking around the world for more strange plants. I just wish there was more in that same genre of, like, explorability that stays viable all throughout the game. For example, what if you could find, I don't know, 5 more heart crystals and then craft those into 1 super heart crystal that then gives you, like, an additional 5 life beyond the life plant or life fruit ones, so that way you can go from, like, maybe the life fruit ones turn your bar silver, and then those, which go even beyond it, turn it gold. And maybe you can't make them until you beat Plantera or something, just to sort of keep the gate going where it's going. There's not really much going on, is there? Alright, I guess we're gonna have to go to the dungeon then, because this has been, well, so far a little bit of a dry episode. We're gonna go and drop all my 22 gold in there. Look, we're down to freaking 1 platinum 48, which is redonkulous considering we were at 8 something last episode. But I went on a freaking spending spree at the last minute, and I couldn't even stop myself. I was like, yeah, you know all these things I needed to buy from the steampunker? Well, I'm not gonna buy those as I buy them. That's basically what happened. Alright, so we're gonna grab this, we're gonna grab this. We are now buffed out the yin-yang. Checking once more for strange plants. They have a strangely high likelihood of showing up in this region right here. This little grassy knoll right before we get to Hollowed, going from left to right. Does not seem to be the case right now. We're not actually going to walk all the way over there because, well, we don't have a reason to these days. Because I do have a minecart trail, so we're going to go ahead and follow that. So I'm going to grab that on the ground. And up we go. So apparently they announced another new World of Warcraft expansion, and it begs the question, and keep in mind I'm a former World of Warcraft addict, recovered completely actually. I've been, what has it been, like 5 something, between 4 and 5 years clean, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But yeah, I played it up until Cataclysm came out, and once that particular expansion pack came out, I dropped the game entirely. But I was super into it, and to the extent that it was like costing me time doing things that were perhaps more important in my life. And I realized at one point that it's like I really need to, you know, get my priorities a little bit more in order. But now they've had what, like 3 to 4 more expansions since Cataclysm. I can't actually remember all of them in order anymore. I know they did the Panda one. That was after Cataclysm. Then there was like another something to do with ice, right? There was like a frosty thing, and then there was it 1 or 2 more after that, and then the current one. It's really hard to keep them straight in my head. I guess what I should remember is the order of how many levels you had, because I think right now, this current patch, or this current expansion pack that's coming out, they've raised the level cap to 110, and I stopped playing when the level cap was 80. Alright, so that actually kind of informs me that, well, maybe I was a little off in my estimation there, if that's true. I'm going to go ahead and rest in the bed, and just for S's and G's, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look to my left, just in case there's a strange plant over here. Really don't want to let you down on that. It's the highlight of these episodes for me some of the time. I really do enjoy finding those. And it looks like we are not going to have a Merry Christmas. Oh well. No biggie. Let us go back into the dungeon. Anyway, why did I bring that up? Well, I don't know, there's always this part of me that makes myself just a little bit curious what's going on in the World of Warcraft these days. And I guess I kind of wanted to ask you guys, I'm sure there's at least a handful of you out there that still play WoW, right? Like, is the World of Warcraft still worth hanging out in? I mean, when I left it, I felt like the way that they sort of balanced the experience was very much toward exclusively being in big guilds and like huge world events that took a lot of time to plan and organize. And I know this is probably a really dumb thing, and you can feel free to call me names in the comments, but I primarily played World of Warcraft by myself, but also occasionally with 1 or 2 people. Yes, I was in a guild, and yes, I had a, you know, profession and all that I spent a lot of time working on. I was a alchemist herbalist, by the way, if you were wondering. But, you know, in general, I found that a lot of my favorite stuff was just the kind of soothing, peaceful, almost like Diablo-esque loot grind stuff that I would do by myself. I would just look for materials. Sometimes I would sit and I would try and find rare stuff. I would try and do my best to be useful to my guild, and that meant being on top of my game But largely, I could do a lot of this stuff by myself. So, like, is there any reason these days for someone who plays like me to hang out? Or has it gone even further in the other direction, I wonder? The other thing I wonder is, how come they haven't actually just made a second World of Warcraft yet and upgraded the graphics engine entirely? I mean, the game has had improvements, I don't doubt it. I've seen the differences in the graphics, graphical capabilities. And yeah, it looks a little sharper. They've upgraded a lot when it comes to the texture work. But the game definitely looks pretty old these days. I mean, granted, it doesn't really matter, but it just seems like one of those things you do for posterity after a long time of being in the realm, right? I mean, they've had a lot of other MMOs come and go around it. Obviously, none of them have been able to compete, which, you know, I guess in that respect, you don't really have to try all that hard when you don't have anybody giving you really a run for your money beyond just for the first month, which is the way it always comes out. Every single new MMO is like, oh my god, this is the WoW killer, this is going to be the one. And then everybody gets really excited, and all the hype levels go through the roof. Everybody plays it for like 2 weeks to a month. And then all of a sudden, the game has gone free to play, and then it is eventually closing down its servers. That seems to have been the case more times than not, from my experience. Although I haven't played a ton of other MMOs. I should preface that I have played some, though. I was pretty into Final Fantasy XI for a while. I did the Age of Conan for a bit, which, you know, honestly wasn't that good. But I like the idea behind it. It seemed kind of cool on surface value. What else did I do? I tried... What did I even do? The Marvel one, was it? Or the DC one? I can't remember which it was. I only played it for like 10 minutes. It wasn't a thing. Jeez, why can't I... There must have been at least 2 or 3 other ones that I played. I never did, like, the Elder Scrolls Online. I never did Star Wars Online. I never did... There's so many now. It seems like the whole MMO scene has kind of collapsed on itself, because I can't really think of all that many. Oh, I tried Lord of the Rings Online for like a week. I didn't really get super into it. I got an Angry Adhesive Bandage. We also had another Wisp in a Bottle, which is sweet, but I already have one of those. I don't think they craft anything, right? Nope, they're just what they are. That'd be kind of cool, actually, if you could augment your Wisp in a Bottle to have some kind of other feature to it. Oh, you didn't die. I thought you had died. That's why I had abandoned it. Okay, we gotta kill that button because I'm real tired of walking into it. I've done it several times now. There we go. I feel good about holding my own with this sword. I mean, I was enjoying using my Paladin hammer, actually. That was a lot of fun, too. But I feel pretty good about this. Having a nice balance between, like, a projectile-based attack and a really strong and fast melee. I don't know, it feels good. It feels like the way it should be. Not having to worry so much about walking directly into something and getting immediately killed is always favorable. Although the amount of spam that it puts on the screen with these green flying swords is a little excessive. You can't almost see anything. I was flying around on my unicorn looking for strange plants earlier, and I just basically couldn't see the ground because I was using this sword, and it was just totally covering it over. You know what actually got me started on MMOs, and I don't know if hardly anybody ever will even be able to speak to this game in particular, because I imagine probably a pretty niche audience, but my very first MMO, I was probably about 12 or 13. It was on the Mac, and it was called Clan Lord, if I remember correctly. And it was sort of like a top-down, I guess you could say sort of like a 2D hand-drawn, like, RuneScape type of affair. But it had, like, a really cool community to it, actually, and what was great was, it was the time of, like, not everything was completely cataloged in, you know, the realm of being online, so there was the majority of stuff about the game wasn't well known, and it was neat because you could make friends with people that have played the game longer than you, and they would try to, like, kind of fill you in on what they knew, but ultimately, everybody was a bit in the dark, and there were world events that would change things on occasion, and there were, like, little portals that would take you over to other areas, and honestly, you didn't know what the hell you were getting into when you would go to a new area. You were like, hey, this could be a death trap. A lot of the time it was. Or it could just be like a sweet way of accessing progression. And the thing is, like, the general mechanics of the game weren't even well discussed for the most part. I didn't know if I spent hours and hours and hours playing this, like, what could really happen with my character and what could happen with the general scope of the game in, like, you know, broader sense. So, you know, it was really exciting to actually be able to discover that stuff firsthand, and it had a little bit of an emergent element to it there. because everybody had to kind of band together to learn. And we were all sort of at the mercy of the game masters, or, you know, the server controllers. I don't know what they called themselves those days, but, you know, the people who ran the game. They could just decide one day they're going to have a world event, and they summon some sort of freaking whirlwind to the center of town, and then everybody gets swept up in it and brought up to a new world, and, you know, everything could change. So you had to be prepared for things like that. Oh, I know another one. Actually, this was one of the bigger ones, so I'm surprised that I forgot it, but Anarchy Online. I spent a lot of time playing that when it was still very early on. I actually was pretty obsessed with that one for a bit, which is funny considering how basic that game was now. I guess, you know, it's hard to really see it in perspective looking backward, but at the time it seemed very, very expansive and unexpectable. That's not even really a thing. Just strange and confusing and wild and crazy kids. I don't know, the whole thing was just really exciting, and the same kind of idea applied like in Clanlord, where we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, where the end of the game would be, and what we could expect from it. And I believe, if I am correct in saying so, I'm like 50-50 on if this is actually true or not, because I can't remember now. But I feel like I could sort of remember it having procedurally generated dungeons. This is a terrible idea what I'm doing right now. I'm just tanking a paladin and hoping I can kill it in time. I actually did. Unbelievable. Right, so yeah, I would just basically get on, and I would look for some people. Usually there'd be a couple people hanging out around whatever city I happened to live in at the time, and we would just go and pick up a couple missions. Generally, our, you know, group didn't really complement each other very well. We hardly talked to each other, because, I don't know, why do that, I guess. And then we would just sit and grind out a bunch of items for a while. We just hopefully try and get some good new gear and keep on going, and we never really figured out where the end of the game was. They had some expansion packs, they had some kind of like crazy new factions and stuff they added eventually, but then it became about like managing territory and stuff, and that got a little bit too confusing. The idea that you had to like defend your ground from other people trying to steal it. I don't know, I wasn't as into that as I was the exploration element. And I think largely that's been always a driving force into like the mystery of what makes those games interesting to me, is when you have to like go and discover the world around you, and like there's all these uncharted areas that nobody's seen before because it's a massive world, and then you can report back and hopefully make discoveries that like, I don't know, they seem emergent and special. Just that idea that like you're doing something new in the world that you're in. It kind of gives you this feeling of gravitas that you don't really have in a lot of ways outside of that. Made me wonder, actually, would it be a fantastic or a terrible idea if there was such a thing as a Dark Souls MMO? I feel like, again, it would be one of those things that would probably end up a little bit like Elder Scrolls, where it's like, yeah, you're kind of just riding on the idea behind it to make it successful, but you're not necessarily doing it right. I imagine a lot of people could enjoy such a concept, but at the same time, would it really be ultimately a good idea, or would it just be to kind of ride off of the property? What I'm thinking is, if you could imagine, you know, in the world of Dark Souls, how there were these massive, massive landscapes that you could see off into the distance for ages. You know, what if you actually could traverse all of that area? And there was all kinds of discoveries waiting to be found, and dungeons, and all kinds of crazy bosses that were being added, and all in real time, of course, and meeting up with friends to go in groups of like 2 or 3 to go fight enemies. That could be really fun. And I think that's a lot of why people really enjoy MMOs, is the teamwork, as well as sometimes just the loot grind element. Very rarely is it for the actual lore or for the story of the game. And I think games that try to play down the element of story in MMOs, I think they generally tend to be a bit more accessible and perhaps successful as a result. I don't know if there's a lot of people that play them for those sort of reasons. I mean, I imagine World of Warcraft is probably one of the ones that kind of hit it on all fronts, because there's a lot of people that are actually into the lore of World of Warcraft. I'm not trying to say that there's a reason that people shouldn't be. Just me personally, it's never really grabbed me for that particular property. But I just kind of am that way with a lot of games in general. I mean, I feel like the stories ultimately kind of culminate in like, hey, we've come up with a bunch of assets, and now let's just justify why those assets are there with a bunch of reasons. Dark Souls does it better than most, and the idea that you can be the one that's sort of on the offensive finding out about these things makes you feel like they're more personal discoveries, which I think is huge for storytelling. Instead of being force-fed them, do the show instead of tell element, you know? I think that almost always works better, especially in cinematography. I mean, I've had these sorts of discussions with Alpaca Patrol for hours in the Magic series, but that's one case where I think it's really true. If you want the viewer or audience or player or whatever they happen to be, depending on the media, to be engaged, just have them be the ones that seek out what they're after instead of the other way around. If you're the one that comes upon something, you're going to be more likely to receive it, I think, in a way that's meaningful to you anyway. So I wish we could kind of embrace that concept more, as well as less hand-holding, which is, I think, another reason why people have been so into Dark Souls. I think it came at just the right time when people sort of reached this fever pitch of being tired of every game just being so freaking ready to go with tutorials and forcing you to sit through cutscenes you don't want to watch because, oh, this is how you jump, this is how you fight, this is how you lock on. Like, I mean, you get that stuff in the form of very quick little notes on the ground, but, you know, once you've seen them, there's no reason to ever look at those again. So, you know, the game has the concept of you're in this for a longer haul than just the one time you happen to play it. And I think that tends to come across as respectful to game players, and I think people receive it better as a result of that as well. Nobody wants to feel like they're being talked down to, and I think it shows that the developers actually care more about the source material when they act like you're going to play it multiple times, or that there is something worth seeing in multiple playthroughs, so they actually design it with that in mind. I mean, that's just sort of a general concept that I think a lot of developers need to get on board with. You know, show respect to your own players more, and I think that that will be returned tenfold. I think it's a lot of reasons like that why games that tend to be in sort of a hardcore subgenre, and I know that has a lot of different meanings, many of them are meaningless, but a lot of reasons why those types of games tend to have very rabid fan bases that will go through very long lengths to defend their personal favorite game of choice. And I'm very much entrenched in the concept of Dark Souls myself, but I try to stay out of that sort of circle-jerky mentality. I know I did maybe get a little bit caught up in it when it came to, like, differences between Dark Souls 1 and 2. And no, I don't want to go down that road right now or anything. I'm just saying, you know, treat your fans with respect, and I think it comes back every time. Well, mostly every time. I'm picking up candles, by the way, because why not? There's so many cool light sources in here, I might as well embrace it. I could actually use more of the blue candles that are all around. We're getting kind of a bad bit of luck today on this episode. We're not really running into a lot of stuff that is very useful. Magic Missile, do I have that? I don't know, either way, I'll add it to the group. Gravitation potions are always welcome. I should start building my art museum soon. Start harvesting all of the varieties of different paintings. Oh, and thank you, by the way, for letting me know about the double statue that I had. I feel really dumb afterward because I didn't realize, there's the thing I was after. The Shadow Beam Staff. I'll show you what this does. But yeah, I was really quite feeling embarrassed the fact that I didn't realize, yeah, I could just freaking take... Oh, that's so weak. I could just take all of the stuff out of the chest for the statues and then just recombine them with Quick Stack, and it would have put them back together again. But, oh well. What are you gonna do? I should actually do that in this episode to make sure that I'm showing that I'm being responsive and responsible. But yeah, this is a cool staff in general. I wish it was upgradable, because I really like the look of it, but it just does not do very much damage. I know I don't have the best prefix on it or anything, but either way, I don't think it's all that great. It just looks cool. Also, I am also aware of the fact that Hard Mode Dungeon is now a bit beneath where I am as far as my character progression goes. I still wanted to grab more ectoplasm, though, which, you know, in that respect, we've actually done fine on. I think we've gotten quite a bit of that so far. I'd like to run into more of those SWAT gear guys, because they actually have some good stuff that I'm after, as well as this guy here has the rocket launcher. I want to get the, what is it, the tactical shotgun. I want to get the SWAT helmet, and I want to get a sniper rifle. The snipers, obviously, are the ones with the sniper rifles, not the SWAT gear. And I think there's one other one that I think the sniper, or the assault guys drop, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Oh, also the Paladin Shield is a must. Also, apologies on the bad info regarding the Hallowed Desert. Apparently, it doesn't have as many items as I thought I did, or I thought it did. There are some things that I'd like from it, but for the most part... drop the shield, drop the shield. It worked. All I needed to say was drop the shield. Alright, fantastic. That was a big grab that we just got there. But right, I think the thing that I needed actually was primarily coming from the Corruption Desert, if I'm correct in saying. I did need, like, the megaphone and the alarm clock, I think, from the Light Desert, but I think the other one had good stuff, too. I'm still a little bit torn about whether or not I should grind for that kind of thing on camera or off. It's often pretty boring to watch, but I can't really say that with any certainty considering I'm literally doing some grinding right now for items. And ultimately, my luck has been fantastic. I mean, we got one of the other rarest drops. So this absorbs 25% damage done to players on your team, only active above 25% life. It's not the best in terms of me personally using it, but what it does is a really helpful skill for if I ever do some online stuff with a teammate. And sometimes it's good to be team-focused. Or at the very least, I mean, it's good to have that as an option. I mean, also, I just want to collect all the items, so that's also kind of a concern of mine. What are we doing for gold these days? We're at 39. That's an okay haul for this. Considering making some kind of gold farming area as well. I don't really know what some good strategies are for that, but I should look some up. I think you guys even suggested a couple in the comments. I'll go back and read through them again. And I still am reading all the comments, by the way, and it looks like since the last episode, YouTube may have already addressed the comments not showing up in my notifications area, so maybe that'll be fine. I've seen there's been like 5 or 6. Usually I have like 20 every time I refresh the page or come back. So I'm not sure if it's like half working or what, or if I just didn't have very many at the time, which, you know, it's quite possible I didn't. Stat tracking in general has been a little funky, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Maybe the notifications are working, but it's not actually accurately seeing which ones are new, if that makes sense. Regardless, a one-day downtime, I can tolerate that, especially considering they've been a lot more responsive this year than they have, like, any other year. And honestly, I have to give YouTube some kudos. This is rare for me to say, considering especially some of the recent episodes where I've been railing on them pretty hard. But this year has been a really solid year for YouTube to not have too many issues. In thinking back to like 2013, 2012 region, it seemed like every other day there was some massive problem with YouTube. Something was like logging me out, or there was like nothing was uploading, stuff was processing wrong, it wasn't keeping my annotations, it was having just issues with making videos even show up. Not sending stuff to subscribers seemed like it was a constant problem. Honestly, it might still be a constant problem, but I just haven't always been on top of checking all the time. Also, feel free to ever tell me that if you ever have noticed that you haven't been getting subscriptions in your sub boxes, or if you didn't get, you know, any of my Terraria videos or anything like that, or if you got unsubscribed from my channel. I've seen it happen firsthand, actually. I got unsubscribed from Northern Lion's channel a couple of weeks ago, and there was zero chance that I have unsubscribed from him. It is actually a fluke of YouTube's. And there's not a chance either that they accidentally construed that I was an inactive user, because I go to YouTube every single day, like 10 times a day. So I don't know what they would need to think for that to mean that I'm an inactive user. There's very few users, I imagine, that aren't creators that are more active, I would imagine, than me. I mean, I spend like half my day there. So yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Losing subscribers because of arbitrary reasons is very frustrating, because it means that you're potentially missing out on views. But in the other direction, the statistics of people that watch every video when you're subscribed are surprisingly low. I mean, if you've looked at how many subscribers I have versus how many views I get on an average video, tends to be around or below 5% of my subscriber base watches most videos. I think a lot of people come for a certain series, they stick around sometimes for a while, then they'll kind of trail off for a bit, and I don't blame you. I'm not saying this like there's anything wrong with this activity. I've done the same thing myself, and this is just sort of how natural user patterns work. I'm just sort of putting it into perspective, because I think a lot of channels or people starting up on YouTube think that if you get a subscriber, that means they will watch all of the videos that you put up. Not true. I mean, that you just have to kind of be around it long enough to realize, yeah, it's super not the case. I think there's like a reasonable amount that you can expect to get. that it starts... Oh, we got a rocket launcher. It starts to get a little silly if, I don't know, say I had 100,000 subscribers and every video of mine had 1,000 views on it. So you're rolling like a 1% conversion rate. That's when you have to start asking yourself some hard questions. What did I do that all the viewership trailed off like that? Does that mean that a lot of people were kind of view-botted in for subscribers, that they're completely inactive? Are they not watching anyone? Or did you change the orientation of your channel in some good or bad way that changed viewership patterns? You know, maybe you started as a Minecraft channel and then you started playing, I don't know, whatever other type of game. Say you started playing Slender games constantly. Everybody that signed on for Minecraft all of a sudden is like, hey, where's the Minecraft? Why are you only playing Slender? And it's a very polarized audience, one versus the other, I imagine. I know there's a lot of people that are like, I will not tolerate any of your scare cam crap. I even get that occasionally, and I don't even do the scare cam stuff. Scare cram? I guess when you cram too much of it into one place at one time. I've done horror games, and I like doing horror games, but I think it's very quick that people will brand you as like a horror game YouTuber, and it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes people just have a variety of tastes in video games, but and I use very polarizing audiences in particular for that. Minecraft is one of those things that if you get big as a Minecraft channel, you're probably not going to be able to really go in a lot of other directions, which is one of the reasons that when I started out, I really wanted to make sure that people got that my channel is a variety-style channel. I play all kinds of things based on a variety of tastes that I have, and I'd never come to my channel hoping that it will always be the same thing every day. Even with Terraria, eventually there will not be Terraria at some point. Whether it is replaced by another similar game, that remains to be seen. And of course, if there is another Terraria-style game, aka Terraria 2 or Terraria Otherworld or something like that, yes, I'm going to play those things. But eventually there will be a point where there's not really much reasonable to do without it becoming a silly stretch for me to create more Terraria content. Granted, that's probably not going to be for many months yet, but that will eventually happen, and I hope the people that watch for the Terraria content will understand, and hopefully at least give me a chance to show you that I do some other stuff as well, and it's got a similar thrust to it. And I hope that a lot of the people that are here for the Terraria content specifically can kind of understand that that's a thing. No hard feelings. Hey, if you're only here for the Terraria, that's all good. I'm glad you're here at all. I'm not going to feel super bad about it if you want to go elsewhere for a place that has all the Terraria content in the world. But don't think it's because now I don't like Terraria and there won't be any more later or anything like that. It's just, I don't want it to be forced. That's the only thing. I never want to play a game that I'm not happy playing or that I don't feel like I have something to contribute to. And once that happens, I will go towards something that feels more natural to me. And that's just, I think it produces the best content, honestly. And that's why I haven't been doing any impressions, just because I've felt burnt out on playing 100 different games. So right now, I'm playing one game that I can really concentrate on and feel good about. I think that's probably the best of both worlds, that you can do a little bit of both on occasion. Hopefully you agree. If you don't, hey, it's all good. There's about, I don't know, 800 million different YouTubers out there, so I'm not one to tell you what you should and shouldn't do with your life. Do what makes you happy. That's all I want. So we're like at 40 minutes now, and we did get a bunch more dungeon stuff. I didn't get a lot of the stuff I was wanting to get done in this episode, but honestly, I don't know why I'm trying to push it like I have to have this very particular set of skills. Honestly, we go where we need to go, we do what we need to do, it will all get sorted out in the end. Wow, that really doesn't do as much damage as I was hoping these days. Alright, let's go teleport back home. Here, rid of our spawn point, and check one more time for a strange plant. Not sure how we got so far off track and went from talking about World of Warcraft to all of a sudden I was discussing the finer points of YouTube algorithms and YouTube viewership patterns. I don't know. Hopefully that's interesting to some people out there. Is one of the things I do have quite a bit to share about, at least. And if you guys are ever curious, feel free to ask me YouTube-related questions or whatever like that if you're starting out, or if you're, even if you've been around for a while. I mean, I've been around for a little while, too, now at this point. So I do have stories and such to talk about. So if you ever want to wonder or ask a question, feel free. It always makes for kind of decent stuff to talk about for longer episodes that don't have a direct thrust to them, as this one kind of was. Alright, so it looks like we're coming up empty-handed on strange plants. Oh, wow. 2 of these guys? It's kind of rare. Look how quickly they die now, my goodness. So let's recap. What did we get done today? Well, we got a whole bunch of Souls of Flight, so that's good. We can make a bunch of sets of wings if we want. I think. I actually should see how many I have now. Put them in the boss summons area. Oh, we got 89. That's really good. I think that should actually get quite a bit done for us. We got this thing, the Shadow Beam Staff. We got a rocket launcher, and we got a Paladin Shield. All of these were items that I wanted to procure. This is superfluous. This is superfluous. That is as well. Got a couple extra statues. Let's go set up that statue. And we got a bunch of ectoplasm, which I wanted as well. Wow, that was a lot of stuff that just popped out. So, right, where do we want to go? We wanted to go to Statue World. Statue World is over here. It's so much easier, my goodness. Once you know where all your stuff is, it gets so much easier. So you said there were 2 of the same imp statues, right? There's one. Well, I should be able to just do quick stack, right? Ah, there they are. Okay, right next to me there. Good, good, good. Very nice. And, well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really needed to do. That's kind of it. Normally we would open up a plant. Don't have any plants. Tried my best. Failed. We could make some stuff with ectoplasm, maybe. Let's see how much that's going to cost. Don't I need shroomite for that, or... We have 42. Actually, let's take one back out and put it there. Take it up to our crafter fellow, Colin. Right, so it's chlorophyte and 1 ectoplasm for 2 specter bars. We can also use these to make the pumpkin moon medallions. These are hallowed bars, and we can use it to make a naughty present for the frost moon. That's 20 of these silk, and 5 of those, 5 of those. Okay, so we need quite a bit. I don't know how much I have anymore. Let's look at our chlorophyte bars. We've got 71 there. I think I pulled all the ones out of my overflow. Nope, I didn't. I actually have 17 on that. And we'll take a bunch back out of here. See if that's enough. 36 bars, is that good? So this is... Oh, these are actually quite expensive in terms of bars. I didn't think they'd be that much. Oh, I forgot there's also the Spectre Pickaxe, Hammer, Paintbrush, Paint Roller. What's up with all the Spectre paint gear? I don't really understand what that's all about. We can use this to color walls. Interesting. And that is probably one of the better ham axes. The last one that I had was, I think, the lava one, or was it the hallowed one? I can't remember. No, it had to have been the one you get from the Killing the Wall of Flesh. Alright, so Spectre Robe is 14 defense. This is for magic. Do I want to even have this? So we've got 2 different specs we can go into for magic. Increases maximum mana by 60, reduces mana usage by 13. I just said mana in 2 different ways in the same sentence. 5% increased magic damage and critical strike versus 40% what? Excuse me? Why would I want that? 40% decreased magic damage? This does useful things, and is 18 defense. This is 6 defense. And what seems to be a really bad thing. Is this like, you can only have the armor bonus if you have this hood, but not that one, and the armor bonus must be fantastic? This is the one that gives you HP back, I think, if you get all of it. Why would you want to have this? Maybe they just meant to write increased? You're throwing me for a freaking loop here, game. Alright, I don't know what's up with that. We're gonna need many more Spectre bars here. Is that enough? Nope, it is not enough. I need more chlorophyte. I actually should have enough in here. Wow, I really didn't expect that I was gonna need to actually go get more chlorophyte yet. Apparently that is the case. That's 8. That should be more than enough for the 18 there. And let's just put those on. I want to see what they look like for cosmetic reasons, of course. And I wouldn't mind seeing what the armor bonus is. Actually, that looks like really cool. I kind of look like a fuzzy moth, which is neat. It's kind of like a moth gear set. And let's just swap these out. I don't really want to look like a beetle, but what does this give me? Magic damage done will hurt extra nearby enemies. Oh, that's different from what I remember. Does the other helmet have its own setup? I don't know what I'm talking about these days, but I feel Feel free to fill me in the comments. I feel like I'm like way out of my depth right now. I'm gonna have to go do a little bit of research. But I really do like this look. Can I get like a glowing white dye that'll go? I don't think I have something like that really. I do have Hades dye, right? Or is it Shadow Flame? Yeah, that's pretty cool. This I only have 3 of, though. Yeah, that's closer to what I was looking for. I need more of the same dye, though, because I want the wings to match. Feel free to let me know in the comments, too, if there's a white, glowing, kind of radiant-looking dye that I can make, and how I make it. Or if I just have to find it, which is often the case, I think. Oh, that looks pretty cool, actually. Goes better with the beetles. But maybe I would want all of those to match. Sucks that I have to have 4 of whatever it is to have everything look the same. I would like it to look like the Shadow Flame, or Hades dye, rather, just like white. Instead of that. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into the dye categories and see what I can find. Anyway, the episode's run a little bit long today, so anyway, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you as always for watching. I always do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your pleasant comments that I've been reading and all the great info that you've been giving me. We will be back again very soon for another one. Make sure if you enjoyed the episode to leave a like on it. It really does help. And I will see you all tomorrow. Later, everybody.